We continue now at the top of Daf Kufchav Gimel Amid Beis in Meseches Bava Basra. This is Bava Basra Daf 123b. And the previous Amar Abba Khalifa Kirvoya asked Rabbi Chia bar Abba, how come in the pasuk when it says 70 people went down to Mitzrayim, if you count out the individuals, it's only 69? And Rabbi Chia bar Abba answered that Dinah had a twin, as it says the word ve'es when it mentions Dinah, and the word ve'es tells us that there's a twin. And Abba Khalifa says back to Rabbi Chia bar Abba, if that's the case, so you'll have to say Binyamin had a twin as well, because it says V'es Binyamin Achiv Ben Imo. It says V'es Binyamin. It uses the word V'es there as well. Are we going to say that Binyamin also had a twin? And so Rabbi Chia bar Abba now responds, Omer, Rabbi Chia bar Abba said back to him, Margalis Tova Haisa B'yadi, I had a great pearl in my hand, V'yatam Evakish La'avda Mimeni, you want to make me lose it, meaning I'm going to have to reveal to you the secret of the answer. Hachi Omer Rabbi Chama bar Chanina, this is what Rabbi Chama bar Chanina says, Zu Yocheved, the 70th person is Yocheved Shahurasa Baderech, she was conceived on the road, V'leidasa bein hachomos, but she was born between the walls, meaning she was born in Mitzrayim, even though she was not conceived in Mitzrayim, and that's why she was not counted among the individuals when they counted out 69, but she was in fact the 70th individual. Shanemar, as it says in the pasuk, Asher Yolda Osa LeLevi b'Mitzrayim, it says she was born to Levi in Mitzrayim. And the idea is Leidasa b'Mitzrayim, she was born in Mitzrayim. Vein Horasa b'Mitzrayim, but she was not conceived in Mitzrayim. And the Gemara continues by Minei Rabbi Chelbo, Mein Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmeni. Rabbi Chelbo asks Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmeni the following question. Ksiv, it's written in the pasuk Vayhi Kasher Yolda Rachel es Yosef. Of Gomer, it says that when Rachel gave birth to Yosef. And the Gemara says, Ma'ishnaki Isyalid Yosef. What's the difference now that Yosef is born, that suddenly the story takes its turn, as we will see? Amar Le, he said back to him as follows. Ra Yaakov Avinu saw, She'in Zaro shel Esav nimsar ela biad Zaro shel Yosef. Yaakov Avinu saw that the children of Esav would only be given over to the children of Yosef. It would take Yosef in order to defeat Esav, and that's why Yaakov understood when Yosef was born, now was the time to confront Esav. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, V'haya Beis Yaakov Eshu Beis Yosef L'hava, it says that Beis Yaakov is a fire, and Beis Yosef is a flame, Uveis Esav Lakash, and Beis Esav is the straw, is the stubble that's going to be burned, and so therefore you see Yosef is there to defeat Esav, and that's why Yaakov confronts Esav only after Yosef is born. And the Rashbam explains, Ma'ishna de lo ratza loshav lebeis aviv, why is it that Yaakov did not want to return to the house of his father, Achanolad Yosef, until Yosef was born? And again, the idea is that when Yosef was born, Yaakov was no longer afraid of Esav. And the Gemara continues, Esvei, we have a question from the following pasuk in Sefer Shmuel. The pasuk says, Vayakim David. David struck them, he struck Amalek, Mehaneshev Yado Erev L'macharasim, from twilight until evening. And this is David HaMelech, who did not descend from Shevet Yosef, and he is striking Amalek, a descendant of Esav. And the Gemara continues, Amar Le, he said to him, Da akriyach nevi'eh, lo akriyach kesuveh. Whoever taught you Nevi'im did not teach you Ksuvim. Techsib, because it's written in Sefer Divrei Hayomim. The pasuk says, Belechto el Tsiklag, naflu olav mi Menashe adnach v'yozavad, v'yediel u'michoel, v'yozavad v'eliu v'tzilsoi roshe ha'alof ma'asher Menashe. So it says that the tribe of Menashe, they helped David HaMelech in this battle. And the Gemara continues, Mesiv Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef asks the following question, and this is also pasuk in Divrei Hayomim. The pasuk says, Umehem min b'nei Shimon holchu lahar seir anoshim chomesh meos uflatio na'arya urefaya v'uziel b'nei yishi barosham. So again, it talks about this battle, and it says in the pasuk, Vayakwes she'eris ha'pleito la'amalek, it says they defeated Amalek, Vayeshvu sham ad hayom hazeh, they were there until this day. And again, we're talking about the Bnei Shimon over here. We don't have a mention over here of Shevet Yosef. And the Gemara answers, Amar Rabba bar Shila. Rabba bar Shila says, Yishi mi b'nei Menashe asi. Actually, Yishi, he did come from Menashe, Dechsiv, as it's written in the pasuk. Of b'nei Menashe, it says that the children of Menashe, Chefer v'Yishi, were Chefer and Yishi. And the Gemara continues, Tanu Rabban, and the rabbis taught, HaBechor notel pishnayim, the Bechor takes a double portion, Bizroa u'v'lechayayim u'v'keva, from the Zroa l'chayayim and Keva. The Zroa l'chayayim and Keva are the parts of any animal that are given to the Kohen, and so it's saying that a Bechor who is a Kohen, he gets a double portion of these as well. Uve mukdash, and let's say you have an animal that's hektish, the Bechor gets a double portion of that as well. Uve shevach sheshivchu nechasim la'achar misas avian, and also let's say there's an enhancement that happens to property after their father dies, the Bechor gets a double portion of that as well. Ketzad, how so? Hiniach len avian, let's say the father, he leaves them para muchgeres umuskeres biad acherim, let's say he leaves them a cow that is rented out to others, and there's rental income that comes in from that cow. O shahoisa roa ba'afor, let's say the cow is grazing in the meadow, v'yolden it gives birth. That's an enhancement that happened after the father died. Bechor notel pishnayim, the firstborn does get a double portion of those kinds of enhancements. Those essentially happen automatically. Aval banu batim v'natu kramim, but let's say the heirs, they build houses and they plant vineyards after the father dies, so ein bechor notel pishnayim, so that the bechor is not going to get a double portion of those enhancements because those took active work from the heirs of the estate. And the Gemara says, "Hai hazroa v'halachayim v'hakeva hechidami." When we're talking about the idea of a bechor getting a double portion of the zroa, lechayim, and keva, what exactly is the case? Ido azili de'avun. If the father already received these as gifts, again, these are matnos kahuna, so he already has possession. So pshita, it's obvious the bechor is going to get a double portion of those. V'ido lo azili de'avun, and if the father did not yet receive them at the time that he died, so roihu, that's something that's roy. It's fit to come to the father, but he doesn't have possession. Ve'en ha-bechor notel b'roy keva muchsuk. The halach is a bechor does not take a double portion from roy like he does by muchsuk. He's only going to get a double portion of that which his father is in possession of. And the Gemara continues, Hach over here, b'makirei kahuna askinan. We're talking about makirei kahuna. Makirei kahuna means that the person is friends with this particular kohen, and he always gives the matanas to this person. This is the father who died. He always gives it to that individual. Udi ishtachit b'chay davun, and the animal was already slaughtered while the father was alive. V'kasavar, and this Tana holds, matanas shalohormu kimi shahormu damu. When you have gifts that weren't yet separated, it's as if they already were separated. So even though the zroa, l'chayim, and keva were not yet given to the father, it's as if the father has possession, and that's why the bechor gets the double portion. And the Gemara continues, Mukdash, and it said that the Bechor gets a double portion of animals that are hektish. That means to say the animals were designated to be a carbon. So Lavdi Daininu, why should he get a double portion of that? The animal that's hektish doesn't belong to the person. It already belongs to the Beis HaMikdash, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Gemara answers, Bekachim Kalam. We're talking here about Kachim Kalam. Kachim Kalam means something like a carbon shlomim. The Aliba de Rabbi Yossi HaGlili, and this follows the opinion of Rabbi Yossi HaGlili, the Amar Momon Bailim, who Rabbi Yossi HaGlili says the Kachim Kalam are considered to be the property of their owners, and therefore it's considered to be the property of the father who died, and that's why the Bechor does get a double portion of the Kachim Kalim. The Tanya, as we learned in a Braisa, Umala Mal B'Hashem, the Pasuk says, Mala Mal B'Hashem, that's talking about Asham Gazelos. Let's say a person steals, and he denies that he stole, and he takes a false oath, so he has to bring an Asham Gazelos, and that's only if you steal from an individual. It's not if you steal from the Beis HaMikdash, and we learn, L'Rabos Kachim Kalim, that includes stealing Kachim Kalim, Shein Mamun Bailim Divrei Rabbi Yossi HaGlili. They're considered to be they're considered to belong to their owners. They're not considered to belong to Hekdesh. That's the opinion of Rabbi Yossi HaGlili, and that's what we're talking about over here. Kachim Kalim are considered Mammon Bailim, and that's why the Bechor gets a double portion of the Kachim Kalim. And the Gemara continues, the Brisa said, Hiniach len avian para muchkeres umuchkeres bi'ad acherim. If the father left them a cow, but the cow is rented out by someone else, there's income that comes in from that cow. O shaisa roa ba'afar v'yoldo, or let's say the cow was grazing in the meadow and it gave birth. These are enhancements that came on their own. Bechor notel ba pishnayim, so the Bechor gets a double portion. And the Gemara says, Hashta muchkeres umuchkeres delav birushusa demara detu kaima. If you're saying that it's rented out, it's somewhere else, it's not even in the possession of the owner, and Amrit Shakal, you're saying that the Bechor gets a double portion of that. So Roa Ba'afar Mi Boy, do we even need to say that if the animal is grazing in the meadow and gives birth, of course the Bechor will get a double portion of that? It seems too obvious. And the Gemara answers, Hakamash Malon, this is teaching us the Muchkeres and Muskeres, Dumya Deroa Ba'afar, that the animal that's rented out to an individual, that kind of income has to be similar to the case where the animal is grazing in the meadow. Ma Roa Ba'afar Shivcha D'Mamela Ka'asi, just like when the animal is grazing in the meadow, it's an enhancement that happens automatically. V'lo kachasri b'mezona. The heirs don't need to provide any mezonos. It's something that happens on its own. And so too, the same is going to be true by muchkeres and muskeres. We will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Kuf Chav Dalid Amud Aleph.